I stood on the creaking wooden planks of the old Riverton pier, the salty breeze wrapping around me like an old wool scarf, heavy and familiar. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the water, making the waves shimmer like scattered diamonds. I took a deep breath, letting the tang of salt mix with the faint scent of fish and diesel. This was home, yet it felt like a prison. My heart raced as I tightened my grip on the frayed strap of my canvas bag, my mind racing with what lay ahead. "You can do this, Clara," I whispered to myself, the words barely carrying over the sound of the lapping waves. I could see him in my mind's eye, Daniel. His arrogant grin, the glint of deceit in his eyes, the way he always thought he was invincible. He had wronged me, and now it was my turn to make things right, or at least to try. I shuffled toward the end of the pier, where the sun began to dip behind the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink as if the world was trying to distract me from my purpose. "What would you do if you had the chance, Clara?" I muttered, imagining Daniel's face, full of lies and betrayal. The wounds he caused ran deep, but tonight I would start to claw my way back to the surface. I had worked for 6 months, planning every detail like a painter perfecting a canvas. My hands shook with a mix of excitement and fear. I could almost hear his laughter echoing in my ears, the sound of him stringing together sweet lies. "I trusted you," I hissed, mostly to myself, the weight of the words heavy in my chest. This was about more than revenge, it was about reclaiming my life, the life he had stolen from me. I sat down on a weathered bench, the wood rough against my skin. I pulled out my phone, the screen bright against the dimming light, and stared at the message I had typed to him. Just a simple invitation, a request to meet at the pier where we had laughed and dreamed before everything fell apart, a chance to expose the truth that had been buried beneath his charm. "You won't see this coming," I said under my breath, a smile creeping across my face that felt foreign yet exhilarating. My mind flashed back to the first time we met at a coffee shop downtown. I had spilled my drink all over his shirt, and instead of being angry, he had laughed, flashing that charming smile that made me melt. "Looks like I have a new tie now," he had joked, and I had fallen for him instantly. I had believed he was the perfect man, ready to conquer the world. I had never imagined that it would be he who would betray my trust. I shook my head, trying to dismiss the memories that clung like barnacles. "Focus," I urged myself, pulling up the details of my plan, the folder I had painstakingly composed over sleepless nights. There was no going back now. As the sky darkened, the first stars began to twinkle, and the pier started to take on a more sinister air. My heart raced at the thought of seeing him again, my pulse drumming a nervous beat. Then, just like that, my breath caught in my throat as I spotted a figure making its way toward me. It was Daniel. He strolled up the pier as if he owned it, his silhouette tall and imposing against the fading light. A knot of anger coiled tightly in my stomach, and I felt myself leaning forward, ready to spring into action. "Clara," he called out, his voice smooth and confident. "I didn't think you would actually show up." He was wearing that ridiculous leather jacket that made him look like he had just stepped off a motorcycle, and my stomach churned with the memories of how he had worn it the first time we kissed. "I didn't think you would miss the chance to show off your latest conquest," I retorted, the words slipping out sharp and bitter but satisfying. His brow furrowed slightly, and I could see the surprise flicker across his features before he masked it with his usual arrogance. "Come on, Clara, let's not make this awkward." He stepped closer, and I felt the heat radiating off him like a warning sign. "Awkward. You're the one who betrayed me," I reminded him, digging my nails into the palm of my hand, holding onto the anger like a lifeline. "You threw away everything we built, Daniel. Do you even understand what you did to me?" Daniel laughed, the sound grating against my ears. "You really think this is going anywhere? I moved on, and you should too." The words cut deeper than any knife, a wave of nausea washing over me as the memories of our past played like a cruel slideshow. "You left me for someone else," I almost shouted, my voice shaky with a mixture of pain and anger. "Did that even mean anything to you?" I took a ragged breath to steady myself, every fiber of my being wanting to lash out more, to dig into the soft, vulnerable parts of his heart. "It meant nothing to you, right?" "Look, Clara," he began, rubbing the back of his neck, an old habit that always signaled discomfort. "Can we just, I don't want to fight about this. We had something, yes, but it's over." "Over? You don't get to decide that," I shot back, my heart pounding in my chest like a drum. "You might have walked away, but I'm not just going to let you erase me, not after everything." For a moment, silence settled over us, the sounds of the water filling the void. I watched the slight twitch in his jaw as he processed my words, an array of emotions flitting across his face before he composed himself again. "What do you want, Clara?" His tone was sharp, almost impatient. "You wanted to meet, so here I am. What's this all about?" I had prepared for this moment, but now that he was in front of me, it felt surreal for all the wrong reasons. This was my chance. I could feel the weight of the folder in my bag as if it were alive, pulsing with the secrets I had gathered. "I want to know why," I said finally, my voice steadier than I felt. "Why did you do it? Did you ever care?" Daniel scoffed, rolling his eyes as if my question was absurd. "You wouldn't understand. Try me." The challenge hung in the air between us, heavy enough to choke on. "I was just bored, Clara. You always knew how serious I was about my work, and then you just wanted to settle down and play house. I met someone exciting, someone who understood what I wanted." "Exciting?" I echoed bitterly, the memory of our good times crashing against the walls I built to keep him out. "So that's it? You just throw away everything we shared for a quick thrill? Do you even understand how that made me feel?" He stepped back, dismissive, as if my feelings were just an annoyance to him. "This is pointless. You are just holding on to memories that are long gone." I couldn't let him get away with that yet again, and it was time to show him that I had become stronger, more powerful than he could ever realize. You are wrong, Daniel. This isn't over, I said, my voice steady. Not by a long shot. There is so much you don't know, and I am not going anywhere. I will make sure that you understand the consequences of your actions. As I spoke those words, clarity washed over me. The weight of my pain could finally become a weapon for me to wield. The sunset faded completely, shadows creeping around us. I could feel the electrifying tension in the air crackle between us. He was about to challenge my resolve, but I would not let him flinch me now. I had come this far, and I would finish what I started. The sun had barely begun to rise over the horizon as I stood at the edge of the riverbank, the gentle ripple of the water matching the tempest inside me. The cool morning breeze brushed against my skin, mingling with the thick scent of loamy earth and damp leaves. My heart raced as I glanced around the quiet playground of Riverton, the town I had called home for years, the place where I had lost everything that mattered. This felt like a beginning, though, not just a continuation of the pain. I lifted my chin defiantly, the memory of that smug smile which had haunted me for so long creeping back into my mind. Nathaniel Martin, a name that felt like poison on my tongue, just the thought of him made my stomach churn. I will make you pay, I whispered under my breath, clenching my fists until my nails dug into my palms. I needed a plan. Suddenly, the sound of a twig snapping broke my concentration. My heart raced as I turned quickly, my body tensing in anticipation. I relaxed a little when I saw it was just Ben, my closest friend and secret keeper. Hey, Clara, he said, stepping closer, his voice hushed but tinged with concern. You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. I forced a smile, pushing away the anguish swirling in me like a storm. Just thinking, I replied, my voice almost betraying the weight behind the words. About Nathaniel? He asked, eyebrows raised. I nodded, forcing myself to meet his gaze. He thinks he can just walk all over me, that I am going to be this doormat for him. Ben shook his head, his dark curls bouncing slightly as he did. You are far from a doormat, Clara. You are strong, but you need to be careful. What's your plan? I could feel the fire in my belly igniting again. That's just it, Ben. I am done being the victim. I won't let him ruin my life any longer. I want revenge. Revenge is a dangerous road to go down, he warned. It can lead to places you don't want to find yourself in. I stepped closer, feeling the cool water brush against my shoes. I know, but think of what he did. I lost my job, my credibility shattered because he didn't like my ideas and wanted to turn my colleagues against me. I can't forgive him for that. Ben crossed his arms, his face a mask of concern. I understand you feel wronged, believe me, I do, but revenge can consume you. I don't want to see you get hurt. Do you think I care about getting hurt? I shot back, my voice rising. He hurt me when he lied and manipulated everything to suit his needs. This is about reclaiming what is mine, Ben. This is about standing up for myself. I could see a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes, but he didn't give in to my anger. Okay, tell me how you plan to do it then. What's your first step? The challenge in his voice ignited a spark of determination within me. I need to gather information. Nathaniel is hiding something and I am going to find out what it is. It's time to play his game, but with my own rules. Ben sighed. You are talking about espionage. Are you sure you want to go down that route? It could backfire. I don't care, I replied, my voice filled with conviction. I have to do this for myself. No more running from the problem. I am going to confront him, but first I need to expose him. Okay, but if you are going to do this, be cautious. You must think this through. I almost laughed at the irony. Think it through, Ben. I have been thinking about this nonstop for months. It is time for action. Okay, he said again in a way that sounded like acquiescence but still held a trace of doubt. I could understand his concern. I was walking a tightrope. You should get some allies on your side. Information is a strong weapon. I know, I nodded, my mind racing through the possibilities. What if I start with Sally? She has the inside scoop on everything because she works in the same office. I can see if she knows anything about Nathaniel's dealings. He's not as perfect as everyone thinks. That sounds like a solid plan, just don't blow your cover, Ben advised, his expression shifting to one of seriousness. Trust no one but me. I know how to keep my head down, Ben. I just need to grab this golden opportunity. As I finished speaking, the sunlight burst forth from behind the lingering clouds, casting a golden glow across the water, illuminating the path ahead. I could see clearer now, a flicker of hope igniting the shadows that had loomed over me for so long. All right then, Ben said, starting to turn away. I'll see you later, just remember what I said. Stay safe, Clara. I will, I promised, though I could feel an electric thrill coursing through my veins. I found myself raising my hand in farewell as Ben walked back towards town. The day was still fresh and the air hummed with anticipation. I took a deep breath, the crispness filling my lungs, washing over the remnants of my anger as I made my way toward the center of Riverton. My mind was spinning with thoughts as the familiar streets greeted me. The shopkeepers had just begun opening for the day. The aroma of freshly baked pastries wafted from Bailey's bakery, mingling with the faint florist notes from Lily's flowers down the lane. I walked past the small brick buildings, my heart pounding as the thought of Nathaniel's schemes gnawed at me. All of these colors, scents, and sounds had once brought me joy. Now they felt like walls, caging me in my misery. I brushed the hair from my face and shook off the gravity weighing down my shoulders. I was not going to let those feelings control me anymore. I spotted a bench at the town square, and for a moment I considered taking a seat, allowing myself to catch a breath, but I wasn't here to relax. I was here to gather intel to form a strategy. My thoughts returned to Sally. She'd always been someone I could confide in. There was an unspoken bond between us. If I could tap into what she knew, I might just find the kind of leverage I needed to bring Nathaniel down a peg or two. I took a turn down Maple Street, the quaint neighborhood nestled behind the square where the smell of blooming violets draped the air. I could picture Sally bustling about in her small garden, her hands conveying the same energy that lit up her expressive face. We met on the weekends, trading stories and sipping coffee, our laughter often ringing into the evening. She was one of the few people outside of work with whom I felt safe confiding. I could almost hear her warm laughter as I approached her white picket fence. My heart skipped a beat. Could she help me? Would she betray me? I raised my hand and knocked on her door, listening to the echo of the knock hum in my ears. Moments later, I heard the delightful sound of hurried footsteps behind the door before Sally swung it open, her smile infectious. Clara, what a surprise. I thought you were at work. I was, but I finished early. Mind if I come in? She stepped aside, letting me in, her home full of vibrant plants and cozy decor, a sanctuary of warmth. Of course, have a seat. Want some coffee? Actually, I would love some, I replied as I took a seat on her plush sofa. The scent of cinnamon greeted me like an old friend. You always know how to give me the best welcome. It is my specialty, so what's been going on with you? You seem a bit restless. I hesitated, the words about Nathaniel hanging on the edge of my tongue. This could easily turn into a conversation that would expose my intentions. Just trying to figure out my next steps, I finally said. Anything new at work? Her expression shifted and I saw the concern flicker in her eyes. Not really, except Nathaniel's been acting odd lately. My heart raced. Odd how? Very focused on his latest project, but I think he's cut some corners to get things done faster. I have heard some murmurs about it. My pulse quickened at the mention of corners being cut. What kind of murmurs? Well, she leaned in closer, lowering her voice as if sharing a secret. Some employees are saying they suspect that he has been misusing company resources. It's all rumor, but there is chatter. My breath hitched. This was the lead I needed. Do you think you could find out more? I asked slowly, feeling a surge of adrenaline. I mean, I'm not there anymore, but if there's something wrongful happening, I want to know. She regarded me thoughtfully, her brows furrowed. Clara, I'm not sure it's a good idea to dig around Nathaniel's business. He is powerful and has connections. He's also a liar and sabotaged my reputation, I said, my voice firm but measured. If there's something to expose, we have to at least try. A long pause hung between us and I could see her weighing her options. I needed her on my side and I had to convince her. Sally, please just think about how he has treated people. He thinks he can get away with anything. I owe this to myself. Her expression softened and I could hear the gears turning in her mind. All right, she finally said, though uncertainty still clouded her tone. But you have to promise me you will be careful, don't put yourself in harm's way. Hope began to blossom in my chest. I promise, I will be smart about it, I will keep my distance. You can text me if you hear anything, all right? She nodded, and I could feel a bond of collaboration forming. Okay, I will, and Clara, just remember I am here for you. Thank you, Sally, you don't know what this means, I said, sincerity flooding my voice. As I left her house, my heart swelled with renewed determination. I couldn't shake off Nathaniel's hold on my life so easily, but I was no longer passive. Armed with information, I felt the control slipping back into my hands. Even as I stepped out into the familiar confines of Riverton, my mind was already racing ahead, plotting my next move, the taste of impending retribution sweetening my resolve. Today marked the beginning of the end for Nathaniel Martin. The sun overhead beamed brighter, illuminating not just the path but my purpose, every burst of warmth urging me forward. This was not just about revenge. It was about reclaiming my voice, my power, and ensuring Nathaniel Martin would think twice before stepping on anyone else ever again. The game had begun. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch like the secrets I was nursing. I leaned against the rough brick wall of the alley behind the old Riverton Theater, the air thick with the smell of stale popcorn and something acrid I couldn't quite identify. My heart raced as I replayed the events of the last couple of days, the whispered rumors, the hushed conversations I had overheard, all laced with the treachery of those I once considered friends. As the last rays of sunlight slipped away, I felt the anticipation build inside me like a tightly coiled spring. I fished my phone out of my pocket, the screen illuminating my face with a cold, blue light. I had just sent the message, "I know what you did." It felt liberating to know I was finally taking action, not just sitting idly by while the shadows of betrayal clouded my life. A few blocks away in the heart of Riverton, Tara and Jake were likely making plans, plotting their next move without a thought of the consequences. I blew out a huff of air, frustrated and anxious all at once. My fingers drummed against my thigh as I settled deeper into thought, feeling the edge of my revenge sharp and clear. I needed proof. Just confronting them would not be enough. I had to make them squirm, to feel the heat of betrayal licking at their heels. The musty scent of the alley, mixed with faint echoes of laughter from the nearby bar, grounded me even as I spiraled through my thoughts. I could almost hear their laughter, those mocking tones that once warmed my heart. Now they carved through me like shards of glass. I steeled myself. Behind my back, I could hear the faint sound of footsteps weaving through the wet cobbles of the street. My pulse quickened and I instinctively pressed my back harder against the wall, trying to blend into the shadows. Suddenly a figure appeared, a silhouette against the dim light of the street. It was Tara. My heart dropped. She was dressed in denim cutoffs and a white tank top, her hair loose and wild as if she had just rolled out of bed. Her laughter bubbled like champagne as she and Jake approached, and I felt a sharp stab of anger slice through my cautious resolve. This was just too convenient. They always met at this hour, their plans brazen and carefree, oblivious to the storm brewing around them. I inhaled slowly, regaining my composure, letting the anger simmer beneath the surface instead of letting it boil over. They stopped at the corner, their backs turned to me as they chatted animatedly about their day. I seized the moment, trying to calculate my next steps. The darkness of the alley seemed to thicken around me, wrapping me in its embrace. Watching them was like observing a scene from a movie where the protagonists were about to discover the truth, that twist of fate the audience yearned for. I stepped quietly, finding my way around the corner, careful to remain hidden. "Did you see Clara at the cafe today?" Tara asked, her voice bouncing back through the alley. I could practically hear the smirk in her tone. "Yeah," Jake replied dismissively. "She was in there, all mousy and looking like a lost puppy. Honestly, I don't know why we even wasted our time on her." Those words landed like a punch to my gut. It was a reminder of how they viewed me now, as broken, as weak. I steadied myself, readying for the moment I would confront them. I needed to get closer. "We're so lucky we finally got rid of her," Tara continued. "Honestly, did you see how pathetic she looked last week? I almost felt sorry for her. Should have put her out of her misery then," Jake joked. I felt a surge of rage and hurt. How could they joke about me like this? How could they so easily toss me aside as if our years of friendship meant nothing? I took a deep breath, inhaling the chill of the night air mixed with the sweet scent of cotton candy wafting from the carnival that had recently set up in town. The laughter echoed down the alley, and I felt the urge to scream, to throw their cruel words back at them, but I knew that wasn't the plan. I was playing a different game now, one where they wouldn't see me coming. They wandered farther into the street, the warm glow of their laughter fading. I hunched down to keep my presence hidden, adrenaline coursing through me like electricity. I had to find a way to turn their contempt into fear. The question was how. Time felt suspended as I waited, my pulse echoing in my ears. After a few moments, they began to move towards their favorite bar, oblivious and careless. That was when I made my decision. I would follow them, but not just to eavesdrop. I would gather the ammunition I needed, the tangible proof of their betrayal. As Tara trailed an idle finger along the wall, I rolled my shoulders back and eased out of my hiding place, ready to match their energy while hiding my true intentions. My heart raced. This was it. I would get my revenge not only by confronting them, but by unveiling their greed and depravity. As I stepped into the dwindling light, I smirked to myself, feeling a mix of dread and exhilarating hope. The night was still young, and my plan was just beginning to unfold. I trailed behind them, carefully maintaining my distance but staying close enough to overhear their conversations. Tara flicked her hair over her shoulder, giving a quick laugh about something I had missed. I strained to catch snippets of their conversation, knowing that every word could serve as my weapon. "You know, we could have just cut Clara out of our lives," Jake said casually. "It would have been easier than dragging this out." "I know, right? But playing nice was just too fun," Tara replied with a bite of vindictiveness. She thought she was one of us. It is hilarious watching her struggle to keep up. A wave of anger surged inside me again as I swallowed hard, picturing their faces as I would reveal the truth. The lightness in their tones only fueled my determination. I had to keep playing the role of the lost puppy. It was the only way to slam the door shut on their cruel laughter. They pushed open the heavy door of the bar, and I almost stumbled from the weight of my rage. There was no backing down now. I would make them regret everything they had done to me. I would make them pay for their betrayal. Their voices melded with the bar's background hum, and I knew this was my moment to gather the pieces of my grand plan. I moved discreetly and found a small window by the entrance, perfect for eavesdropping. I glanced inside, catching glimpses of them animatedly chatting at the bar. "Another round?" Jake asked, raising his glass high. "Sure, and then let's check on the others," Tara replied, her laugh cutting through the bar's noise. "I wonder if they know how weak she really is. It is like watching a car crash in slow motion." My pulse quickened. I had to make my move, poised like a hawk ready to swoop down on its prey. The scene seemed to slow, and my mind raced with possibilities. I could not let this moment slip. I breathed deeply, letting the fabric of my fiery plan weave itself tighter in my mind. They wouldn't expect a thing. As I ducked back into the shadows, I grinned at the delicious anticipation of revenge. I was ready to turn the tables, and this time they would learn the hard truth that Clara Hastings was not a victim. She was a force, and I was coming for them. I stood in front of the mirror, my hands gripping the edges of the sink as I took a deep breath. The faint, flickering light above cast long shadows across my face, revealing a mix of determination and anxiety in my eyes. The quiet hum of the single overhead bulb felt like the ticking of a clock, counting down to moments unseen. My heart raced, and I reminded myself that tonight was about finally taking back control. No more hiding, no more waiting. With a resolute nod at my reflection, I stepped away from the mirror, sliding my phone from my pocket to check the time. 6:35. I had exactly an hour before the plan began to unfold. Taking a moment to gather my thoughts, I replayed everything in my mind. How Thomas had orchestrated my downfall, how he had betrayed my trust, and how I had spent countless sleepless nights plotting my revenge against the man who thought he could walk all over me without facing consequences. The taste of this plan was bittersweet on my tongue, like dark chocolate melting under the heat of my resolve. "Clara, are you ready for this?" I asked myself, sinking into the familiar dance of doubt and determination. I shook my head, trying to push away the persistent thoughts. Yes, I was ready. I needed to be. I slipped into my black dress, tight enough to make me feel fierce, yet elegant enough to blend into the upscale crowd at the Lux, the glitzy new club in Riverton where Thomas spent most of his evenings. The Lux was not just any club, it was where the elite gathered, where money whispered promises of exclusivity. I couldn't let him see my nerves, couldn't let him sense my intentions. As I made my way into the pulsating heart of the club, the bass thumped through my body, a surging reminder that tonight was not just about revenge. It was about reclaiming my power. The door swung open, and a wave of heat mixed with the scent of expensive perfume hit my nostrils. I scanned the room, my eyes locking onto Thomas, who stood at the bar, laughing with that same mocking smile that had haunted my nightmares. His charm shone like a beacon, but to me it flickered with deceit. I could see his infuriatingly perfect hair, tousled just right, and his designer clothes that clung to him like a second skin. He was surrounded by a couple of sycophants, eager to bask in his supposed greatness. Can you believe the people who still think he is all that? I muttered to myself as I walked toward the bar. My heart pounded in my chest, and a fire ignited in my stomach. As I approached, I spotted Sophia, my roommate and confidant, leaning against the bar in a head-turning red dress designed for distraction. "Clara, you made it," she exclaimed, her voice cutting through the noise. Her eyes sparkled with excitement, but they flickered with concern as I approached. "You look fantastic. Are you feeling okay?" "Yes, I am," I replied, forcing a smile even as a twinge of anxiety twisted inside me. "You know why I'm really here, right?" Sophia leaned in closer, her expression serious. "I do, just remember you have to stay calm. You've planned this out and you can do it, just be careful." "I will be, I promise." I took a shaky breath and steadied myself. "I just need to get his attention first, then I will show him exactly what he deserves." With that, I raised my glass of soda to my lips, taking a sip and pretending it was something stronger, something bold. Before I had the chance to scan the room again, my gaze was caught by Thomas' laughter. My vision narrowed, only for him to look up, his eyes locking onto mine like a hawk spotting its prey. My heart raced, this was it. "Clara Hastings," he shouted, a devil-may-care grin spreading across his chiseled features. "I didn't think I would see you here tonight. Why the sudden interest in high society?" Surrounding patrons turned their heads, and my cheeks flushed with a hot mix of embarrassment and rage. I remembered the time he'd made me feel small at a gathering, ridiculed me in front of people I thought were friends. But tonight was a new beginning. I would not let his taunts shake my resolve. Surprise, surprise, I made an entrance. I shot back, smiling sweetly. "But don't worry, I won't take your spotlight." He laughed again, a hollow sound that sent a chill down my spine. "The spotlight? Oh, darling, I think my spotlight is more than safe, but do stick around." The air between us crackled, charged with past grievances and a hunger for retaliation. "Honestly, I came here for a little entertainment. You know how boring life can get without a little drama." I leaned into him, searching his expression for any flicker of concern. "And I heard this place was where all the real fun happened. Is that why you came, Clara?" His voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper, sending shivers through me. "Because I can assure you you're far too late to the party." "Am I?" I stepped closer, letting him notice the confidence radiating off me. "I absolutely adore a good show, especially when I can be the star." "Oh, Clara, you're such a delightful mystery." He smirked, seemingly unfazed by my words. "I can hardly wait to see what you have planned." His eyes sparkled with mischief, and for a fleeting moment I almost believed he was intrigued. "I guess you will just have to wait and see." I was breathing heavily now, a strange mix of anger and exhilaration coursing through my veins. Sophia caught my eye from across the bar, her face showing a blend of worry and support. I could feel her silent encouragement urging me to push forward, and for a brief moment I knew I couldn't turn back. I needed to assert myself more, to make him feel my presence, to make him realize that I was not the same Clara he could push around. "Now, if you will excuse me," I said, pulling my gaze from his. "I have my own circle to entertain." I turned sharply and walked away, heart pounding. My fingers thrummed against the side of my body, craving the closure of real revenge, not just idle threats. I spotted a group of well-dressed women gathered near a table, and I approached them, engaging in light banter, laughing amidst the noise as if Thomas did not exist. "Clara, look at you, so confident. Did you finally kick that rascally ex to the curb?" one of them asked, a hint of admiration lacing her tone. "Something like that," I replied, lifting my chin as pride swelled within me. I leaned in, letting them wrap their attention around me like a warm blanket. I would make Thomas watch. I would make him see my success and my power shifting in real time as I reveled in the admiration of others. With each joke, each laugh, I could feel the energy around me building, and though fire and fury still sat just below the surface, I relished in the small victories. I caught glimpses of Thomas shifting uncomfortably a few feet away, his posture changing as if he felt the weight of doubt creeping in. This was not a life he could dismiss anymore. This was a fight he never imagined he would lose. I could feel the tension in the air like the calm before a storm, and I knew the night was just beginning to hold its secrets close as I prepared to unleash what I had been waiting for. All he could do was look. All I had to do was execute my plan, and by the time night turned to dawn, it would be him who would be forced to reckon with the consequences of his past actions. The sun dipped beneath the horizon, casting long shadows that stretched across the once familiar ground of Riverton. I felt a shudder of anticipation ripple through my veins, each pulse a reminder of the plan I had spent months meticulously crafting. As I walked towards the meeting place, the cool evening air brushed against my skin, somehow refreshing and suffocating at once. My heart raced with excitement and dread, both feelings mixing together in a chaotic dance, each step echoing the relentless resolve that had fueled my journey thus far. Clara Hastings, once a victim of betrayal, now stood on the precipice of reclaiming what was unjustly taken from me. I pushed the thoughts of fear aside. No, I wouldn't let them drown me. My fingers brushed against the cool metal of the locket around my neck, a small but potent reminder of my past and the people I once trusted. I arrived at the abandoned warehouse, its large, rusted doors looming before me like the jaws of a beast ready to swallow me whole. The faint smell of salt water mixed with decay wafted through the air, and a chill danced down my spine. I stood there for a moment, gathering my thoughts as memories flooded back. I could picture Marcus striding confidently towards me, his cocky grin infuriatingly charming. "You always had a flair for the dramatic, Clara," he had said once just before he betrayed me. It was his betrayal along with Rachel's that had sparked this fire in me. I pushed the door open slowly, the creaking sound reverberating in the silence like an ominous warning. Inside, the warehouse felt massive and empty, filled with shadows that seemed to pulse as if they were alive. I spotted Marcus leaning casually against a rusty beam, his dark hair tousled and his expression inscrutable. I remembered how much I used to adore that smirk of his. It made my stomach twist with anger now. "Clara," he said, his voice smooth but laced with surprise. "I didn't think you'd actually show." I stepped forward, heart hammering. "Oh, I promised I would, did I?" The tension was palpable between us, vibrating like a taut string. It felt like my entire life had led to this moment. "What do you want, Clara? To rehash the past? I'm not interested in old grudges." He was trying to dismiss me, but that made my blood boil. "Old grudges? You think this is about old grudges?" I took a deep breath, holding my ground. "This is about accountability. You think you can just walk away from what you did?" Marcus shrugged, still trying to appear nonchalant. "It was just business, Clara. You need to understand that." Just business, the phrase clawed at me, igniting memories of the betrayal that had turned my life upside down. Just business, I spat, the bitterness spilling out of me like poison. "Ripping apart friendships for profit is not business, it's treachery." He took a step closer, raising an eyebrow. "And yet here you are still holding on to that anger. What do you think you are going to change tonight?" His smug face faded from my view for just a moment as I focused on the plan brewing inside my head. "I am going to show you that actions have consequences, Marcus." The sound of my own voice echoed in the vast emptiness, filling the air with purpose and determination. In that moment, I locked eyes with him, and underneath the bravado, I saw a flicker of concern. It fueled my confidence. I wasn't the weak girl he once knew. "You've had your fun," I continued, taking a step forward, my voice cold and steady. "Now it's my turn." He let out a mirthless laugh, trying to mask his fear. "What, are you going to threaten me? You really think that would work?" "No," I replied, determination hardening my voice. "I'm not going to threaten you, I'm going to make you feel the weight of your choices." I reached into my pocket, fingers grazing the small device that would change everything. He saw the flicker of something in my hand, his smirk faltering. "What do you have there?" he asked, voice dropping slightly. "Just a little reminder of the people you stepped on to get where you are," I replied, holding the remote tightly between my fingers. The slight tremor in my hand was only a shadow of my resolve. "I think it is time you learned a lesson." The moment hung between us, thickening the air. "What are you planning, Clara?" he asked, his voice now edged with uncertainty. "You are going to pay for the damage you've done, not just to me but to everyone else you've exploited," I said, glaring at him. Each word was released from my lips like a bullet fired in anger. "You cannot just slide past it all and think there are no consequences." As I pressed the button, the faint rumbling began, then grew louder, echoing through the hollow space. "What are you doing?" Panic crept into his voice as he glanced nervously around the room. "I'm giving you a taste of despair," I responded, feeling almost triumphant at the sight of his anxiety. My heart raced as I anticipated the breath of chaos that would unfold. Just how far reached my revenge? I wanted him to feel as trapped as I had when he had taken everything from me. "Clara, stop." His voice cut through the noise, desperation lacing every syllable. "You don't know what you're doing." I couldn't help but smile at the regret flooding his face, and oh, how sweet it felt. "Oh, I know exactly what I am doing," I replied, my voice low and dripping with satisfaction. The rumble turned into a roar, shaking the boards above us as loose debris began to fall around us. He darted away from me, eyes wide with fear. "Clara, please don't do this." I could see the panic wash over his face like a storm cloud swallowing the sunlight. "You're a coward," I shouted, feeling unstoppable. "You made your bed, now lie in it." I could hear sirens in the distance, unintentionally causing a cold thrill to dance down my spine. I had time and a plan. He was backed up against the wall. "You think you can scare me?" Marcus shouted, his bravado faltering. "You are delusional." I took a deep breath, grounding myself in the reality of this moment and the justice I was about to serve. "Not as delusional as you, Marcus," I said, blinking back tears of anger. "This isn't just about tonight, this is about every life you've disrupted." I clenched my fist around the remote, savoring the sensation of power radiating from it. "No more hiding," I said fiercely. "No more pretending you're untouchable." He opened his mouth to protest again, but before he could say anything else, the building shuddered violently and dust rained down upon us like a foreboding omen. My breath hitched in my throat, exhilaration mixed with a fierce sense of rightness. I knew I was doing the right thing, even if it felt dangerous and exhilarating all at once. And for a fleeting moment, I reveled in it, the taste of revenge sweet upon my tongue.